Hello once again, everybody. Everybody in the dealership space out there, general managers, GSMs, service managers, fixed op directors, parts, service, BDC, everybody. Welcome in to the Mission Debrief, brought to you by Call Team 6, Special Ops for Car Dealers, no lead left behind. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jeff, one of the founders of the company here. Welcome to episode 16. That is episode Papa in our military vernacular, sticking with the phonetic alphabet there for all of our friends. And by the way, we are a contributor and sponsor to many different charities out there that are, many of which are associated with military and veterans who have served our country so well, and our entire existence is in honor to their service. And so we've got a great episode for you on track today, and on set with us today we've got a special guest as well, in addition to the typical folks who join us coming in from different parts of the country, to the very spot here in South Florida, in Meisner Park, beautiful Boca Raton, Florida, where it's been an absolutely, if I may say so, fantastic week weather-wise, right up until we got here. If you can handle that sort of thing, we're in that middle of the time of year where the humidity's not too bad, the weather's, the heat's not too bad, and of course at night it's just great. So,
yeah.
Not exactly a bad trip to make down here for the podcast again. So, look, ladies and gentlemen, our viewers out there, our growing community of viewers, we really appreciate your tuning in. And we obviously invite you to like and subscribe to all of our socials and all of our podcasts and on here, because you get a really good cross-section of content, and it has to do primarily most of our subject matter on here that we want to give back to dealership personnel all across the United States. Is involved with the three primary areas of challenges dealers are facing today, conceptually and categorically, which are new customer acquisition, defection prevention, and also missed opportunity reengagement. That's kind of where CT6 lives. That's where our bread is buttered, so to speak, and some of the best areas of support and reinforcement that we provide for dealership clients, for sales and service BDC, with the very best and U.S.-based agents, and then the very best and developed technical and technological products out there, many of which we talk about on programs from time to time, where that we are at the forefront, and our ears are to the ground whenever it comes to actually developing and building and inventing the very systems of technology that will help dealers win their markets, get better efficiency, and be able to perform better overall. Yeah, once again, I'm Jeff. Joining us in the studio again today for this episode. Very, very excited to have the rest of the team here, starting with our CEO, Mr. Ken Kingstad, the original co-creator of the BDC model roughly 30 years ago.
Wow.
We're ready for our KidX moment anytime today, boss. Whenever you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. So thanks. Coming down all the way from
NJ, New Jersey, right?
From NJ through Tampa, through Orlando, through the A1A, all the way down through Cape Canaveral.
Yes,
he's just a man about town, and always on the move with the CT6 Express.
I tell you, I'm excited about sharing a couple things today too as we move through this podcast. But I would say one thing, and I think this could be changing for a lot of car dealerships.
Great.
Is understanding the best of the best. Like, what are the top 10% of the dealerships do out there that put them in that top 10%? What are their KPIs? Are they comparing themselves to NADA stats, or is there a whole different level of stats that top group looks to? And one of the things that I've done for 30 years, because typically when we first created this whole BDC concept, people that would put us in their dealerships weren't the ones that were the bottom of the bottom. They were the stores saying, hey, listen, I'm doing a good job right now. How do I get to become great? And so we would go in, we would put the BDC in, and we'd do lots of training. My background before the car business was with Anthony Robbins and a lot of the psychology. And so one of the things that I learned, which is amazing to me, I just think as I reflected through the journey, is that dealers would always say to me, Jeff, they'd say, oh, this is where I really need help. Can you help me here? And I would be like, yeah, we can do that. That's my area of expertise. And they'd say, but let me show you what I'm really good at. And they would take me and they would show me what they were really good at. And then I'd be like, wow, this is amazing. And I would take notes. And imagine doing that year after year after year, hundreds, even thousands of dealerships. You become this, not that I'm an expert in everything, because I'm not, but you become a master at taking notes at what is broken in a lot of stores that other guys who have been doing it way longer than me have mastered. And so one of the things that I think that what I want to share today too is modeling. If you can learn to model the best of the best, it doesn't have to take you 6, 7, 8 months or even a year to go from 0 to 100. Does that make sense? And so I think I'm excited about sharing some really great processes as we go through this whole journey today, and that some of those things to help you get your unfair share. And what is the right process? That's why Jeff, you will say, well, you're a process, people and process. People, well, I am, but not because I'm making it up myself, but what have we learned from the 30 years that was the best of the best that we can share here on these podcasts to help you guys not have to go through the long journey of mastery. And that's kind of my whole opening here today. So I'm really fired up about the sharing these opportunities and helping our people get their unfair share and go from 211 to 212. Let's just go from hot water to boiling water. Leverage that steam and let's get our unfair share.
Well, anytime you're excited and you get stoked, just by osmosis, just sitting right in here next to you with that energy, I get it too. So it's contagious for sure. I don't know if it goes all the way past me, all the way over to the guy who's in the grind every day and working with the team members of all U.S.-based agents all across the United States, serving dealers in sales and service. But he can answer that for himself, being that he is here, coming all the way down from Charlotte through Tampa and making his way through the CT6 Express, visiting dealers, all along the way. Our COO, Operations Director, Mr. Ryan Mays, has made it here as well. El Capitan.
Woo! Ryan, appreciate it. There's not a day that goes by that I am not fully energetic, fully pumped up, especially to be with these guys in studio doing the dance with our friends at Podcast Junkies and our other sponsor, Max Social. Does it get better than this group here?
Doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
Latest news, real tips, things that you can walk away from and change in your store today to make a difference tomorrow. That's what we love doing, and that's what we're here to do.
Amen.
Fantastic. Thank you. Speaking of sponsors, we would like to bring them into the deal right now because we're so excited, and I know that our all of our subscribers out there that they probably tune the rest of the program out right after this segment right here because this is what they live for when they tune in. They want to know what's going on in the life of our engineer Eric at iameric.com. We're very fortunate to have him here.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, behind the board. Eric, thanks for joining us again, sir. We are honored by your presence.
Thank you. You guys make me feel like Justin Bieber.
Ooh, baby. Baby. We appreciate all of your talents putting all this together for us. And Eric is with Podcast Junkies for the very best in podcast production, social media management, and an entire library of services that they provide for for companies to be able to spread the word, from everywhere in the United States. There they are. Boca Raton's Premium Podcast Studio. I don't think this is the only location they have, but it's the closest one for us, which makes it, even if you guys have to travel by plane to get here, not so far for me though.
Right.
Which is which is good because my hair's getting grayer all the time, so travel is a big deal for me anymore. But the other sponsor today for today's program, we're excited to have in studio with us is Mac Social, macsocial.ai. there is the Mac Social spread right there, and it is headed up by Jay, our music producer and social media manager here for Call Team 6. I think he is there with Eric now in studio. There he is.
Hey, all right.
So, what?
Thank you for having me.
What's going on in MacSocial.ai world, Mr. J?
Well, we're a social media company. We work behind the scenes. This way we can keep you ahead of the game, essentially. We're brand new, but we are dedicated to Social Media and Advertising LLC. We work in tandem with Call Team 6 and Digital to Dealer Direct as well as partners. Our goal is to provide essentially the absolute best social media presence experience to help stay seen and engaged with everyone online. We use top-of-the-line editing software, and we're with a team of people who understand the trends. So this way we can keep everyone who we're working with just on top and seen out there and just provide the best experience that we can.
I love it.
Can I just say that I think we have the coolest clips out there that you generate, with your software and everything. I mean, it's pretty awesome. I watch them all.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So MacSocial.ai with Jay and his team, doing it to the fullest up there in Charlotte, but taking care of clients all across the country. So we're into episode 16 now, ladies and gentlemen. We're building up a great library of resources for dealers out there. If you're anywhere in the dealership management and the personnel in that area responsibility for dealerships, you can feel free to browse through any of our episodes, because we really do get pretty granular whenever it comes to what you can do with your teams to become better, to become great, to win your markets, to be more efficient, based on the fact that these guys, I'm fortunate and blessed enough to be in my sphere now for several years, where that you can really glean a lot from just taking in a lot of the content that we provide here for you, as a way of giving back to our dealership brethren. And and helping you win, essentially, from the information and a lot of the tactical tips, and a lot of the subject matter that is on here. So we're very excited about that. We've gotten a lot of great input and feedback on our previous episode with our guest, and in fact, it was so well received. I mentioned at the end of that we definitely wanted to have him back, and having him in studio, I think, is a great opportunity for everybody to get the same room perspective of the success story that he's putting together out there with his team in Northern California at one of the Easy Car dealerships locations out there, and I'm excited to bring him into the fold now so we can start learning everything that's going on. Mr. Brandon Gonsalves, who is the GM and managing partner.
Glad to be back.
Coming in from, did you come in from Sacramento or San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Yeah?
Yep.
So you probably got that direct, did you have to change?
We did not have to change.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Direct to Miami.
Yeah, that's the way to
I
go.
love it.
Happy to be back in South Florida. Anytime I get an excuse to come here is it's a blessing.
Yeah, you were sharing your escapades last night in sampling some of the local Italian cuisine, and I understand that it did not disappoint.
No, Trattoria Romano is a fantastic restaurant. If you ever get a chance to go there, I highly recommend it. And every time I come here, it's one of the places I got to eat at because it's that good.
I haven't been, but
Yep.
It comes highly recommended. I'm glad you're able to find somewhere for your stay down here,
Yep.
where you're able to enjoy a good meal. So look, Brandon is, as I mentioned, Easy Car Dealership Network. We have a brand new model that expands dealerships networks through our remote selling process. We actually have our own dealerships where we are partners. Call Team 6 is not the only thing that we do. I've been in the automobile business, running dealerships on the desk, doing the grind, the 60-hour weeks, 6 days a week for 35 years. And my perspective on here that I bring to try to help the level of services that Call Team 6 provides to our dealers, clients in sales and service is from the same perspective as a lot of the people out there like yourselves who are viewing right now, and that helps us to be a better resource for what you're trying to accomplish out there, and on it, and knowing the daily challenges that you're experiencing. And everything that from the change in technology, all the uphill battles that everybody's fighting right now with margin compression, used car values, affordability for consumers out there, and it is the landscape has certainly changed even in the last couple of years, and to be able to take and apply these new models, for the Easy Car dealership network that we're executing on, and to be able to see what's taken place with the team and with the results and with the execution that Brandon and his team out there have put together, it was certainly worth another visit back. But obviously, we're going to be talking about some different content today, in the mission launch and field report segment of the program that we're getting into now. So, I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about today, Brandon. I'm sure everybody else is too, because we kind of touched on this and during the last episode where that some people out there might be a little bit skeptical is how can you turn around in a few months a Nissan store, because it's not exactly viewed as having a lot of upside, comparatively speaking to some of the other brands out there who are on the uptake, so to speak. So welcome again for the folks who maybe didn't get to see and tune into the last episode. Maybe a little bit of background about yourself and what's going on up there in Northern California, so we can have all of the nitty gritty on all that.
I've been in the car business for about 30 years. I've started at the bottom and worked my way up to what I consider the top at this point. I'm a managing partner of the store, general manager, and I'm boots on the ground 6 days a week, and trying to make some things happen. We've put a heck of a team in place, great salespeople, great service advisors, great every position in the store, and I'm very happy with my team. And we're just now fine-tuning the processes, tightening down the thumb screws, and not letting anything get loose.
So what does that look like, really? I mean, so you're another GM out there, let's say. You're experiencing everything everybody else is experiencing out there, which is a very challenging environment. What are some of the things that come to mind, or a couple of things at least come to mind, where you think that it would be maybe a couple of the most impactful things in getting? We've talked about having an edge. We've talked about in previous episodes, 26 is the year back to basics. What are some of the things that, or a couple of the things that you're seeing? Just because you've really doubled the volume, doubled the productivity of this establishment in just a few short months. What has stuck out to you that you've been able to crack the code, so to speak?
Like you said, back to basics. Are you doing the blocking and the tackling? If you don't block and tackle, you're not going to move the ball, and it's just that simple. We've gone from a CIT that wasn't very good to a CIT that is extremely tight. I personally check the CIT every day. The sales managers check the CIT every day. And guess what? Finance does too. And then you just inspect what you expect. And you look down at every single department. You look at what does your turn time look like on your used cars? Are you acquiring the right used cars? We have a lot of tools available to us, a lot of different software programs that tell us the health of our used car department. Are we acquiring the right cars? We have great tools with Conquest and vAuto. Or do we have the right mix of new cars? Do we have, talk to your dealer rep? Your dealer rep has a lot of insight on what's moving in the market and what you should look out for in the future as well. Are you communicating effectively as a team? I tell everybody, over-communicate. Let's talk more than we probably should. That way nothing gets past us. On the sales end of the sales floor, is the sales managers going in on TOs? Am I going in on TOs? Is our finance guys going in on TOs? Are our finance managers who aren't working a deal on the desk looking behind our sales managers, making sure they're not missing a deal? Is everybody working together doing more than their job? I hear a lot of time, this isn't my job, this isn't my job. If the store is the most important thing and you work for that store and you care about that store, every job is your job. And you really have to watch
out.
And you really have to own that. And that starts from me first, from the customer who's walking in through the door, or maybe they never made it through the door. Maybe they're on the lot. Do I see somebody out on the lot? I'll go greet them myself. I appraise cars. I go on test drives. Whatever needs to be done, I'm not above it, and neither is anybody else that works for my staff. And you really have to just get back to the basics, that everybody's on the same team, rowing in the same direction. And if you can get everybody to buy into that philosophy, you can move the needle.
Well, we're into Ken's lane now when it comes to culture and high-performing teams, and I think it really starts there. Obviously I watch and listen like you guys do, probably more than my share of other podcasts. And by the way, folks, you see we're not using cue cards, we're not reading the news or anything. We're having real, authentic conversations back and forth about what our experiences are and what we think can help you. But I hear and watch certain dealership people who are the leaders, so to speak, and I subscribe to the Norman Schwarzkopf theory of leadership, which is you lead people and you manage business, not the other way around, because nobody likes to be managed, quote unquote, right? They do like to feel inspired,
right,
and they do like to feel they're part of something larger than themselves, and so a lot of times I hear terms being spoken by people who have occupied the same chair I have for a long time, and they say, I hear them talking management terms, and I hear them talking about employees, and I hear them talking about upper level and lower level. Well, that's hard to engender the type of culture we can win, like you're building out there with those types of terminology. I believe in everybody's a team member. Right, the management is there to support the frontline people. We don't call them, staff. Or on my staff, they don't ever hear me say something like that. It's how does our management team support the frontline team members out there and among the team, because I know it sounds cliche a little bit, but in execution, that's one thing that I know you believe in. I know everybody here believes in when it comes to building good teams. Is I never have a conversation with somebody, regardless of their position within the store, whenever I visit or wherever I am, that makes the other person come away feeling like that I am directing them in a certain way, that I want them to do things my way or anything like that. It's just not very sustainable whenever it comes to building good teams. I'm sure you can expand on that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I would say, to your point, Brandon, is that everything matters. Okay. There's the customer experience. Everything matters, from the way the lot looks to the way your desk looks to how you greet the customer. Let's just say everything matters. It doesn't matter what it is. Customer experience has got to be number one. Okay. Secondly, is that people don't do things for your reasons. Hear me on this. People don't do things for your reasons. I'm talking to the managers, the owners. People do things for their reasons. And we have to, I think, if you want leverage and you want to lead people and you want to manage their things, you have to connect with those individuals. And I think that's why it's so important to do your one-on-ones. And when you hire people, figure out what their motivations are. Because I think if you don't know what makes a person tick, Jeff, I think, you just come to work every day. It's a job, just over broke. Nobody wants a job. People want an opportunity to grow, to feel connected, to be part of something bigger than just a job. And that's where it comes down to really for strong managers to step into strong leadership roles. And, a manager, I hate to say this the way it is, but this is my belief system. A manager, they're worth, please don't take us the wrong way, but they're a dime a dozen, okay? What's really rare in this business is strong leaders. Leaders are what make things happen, and that's how we grow the business. So I think, if we want to lead people and manage things, then we need to understand why people do what they do. And that's why it's important to sit down with someone and really kind of figure out what their why is. What's your why? What gets you up early? What gets you to stay up late? What is it that motivates you to do the best you can every single day that'll talk you out of giving up and giving in?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. And once you get that and write it down, and revisit it weekly, monthly, quarterly, and really be a part of that person's growth, personal growth plan. That's the key. It's not just, okay, you can fog a mirror, you're going to hire the person. We ask people to do things that if we talk about modeling, we ask people to do things that they don't want to do. Make their 30, 40 calls, send out videos on every lead, go walk the lot every day, figure out what's in service, going through Get Ready. All these things, it's a lot of work, guys. And so in order for someone to do those kind of heavy lifting opportunities and events, they have to have leverage. So if it's sending the kids to college, if it's paying off debt, if it's getting that vacation of their dreams, that's what you need to motivate people to do the heavy lifting. Once you do that, then people become assets, and they work as a unified team. Those are the things that make 1 + 1 equal whatever number you want it to be. It doesn't have to be 2. It's called synergy.
Or the sum is greater than the equal of its parts. In other words, and that's where you get the good energy and you end up getting good results.
Yeah.
And I am so in tune with what you're sharing there, and it really resonates with me because I've actually published articles on perspective from the dealership's point of view, where I subscribe to the outside-in approach, not the inside-out, where that every time I walk into the establishment I'm in charge of, I look at it as if I am the customer walking into that, and I haven't been walking into the store, into the showroom, into the service department from the time I pull on the lot, and that I haven't been there for 3.5 years. And it's called outside in, looking always from the customer's point of view. Good energy. Is the lot looking the way it's supposed to be? Is it are the vehicles merchandised the way that they're supposed to be? And if I walk in, how am I greeted? What is it look like? It really sticks to me, about that, whether I'm going into sales or service. And that, because I know that customers are coming in, and the first impression is everything. And they're making decisions right then about whether or not that they feel comfortable enough to move forward and do business with a person like that. So we tune into Clubhouse all the time. I was listening to a manager on their talk not too long ago, and he was bragging about the fact that he could walk up to these people on the showroom floor at any one particular time and just walk up and say, "How many cars you got out? How many cars you got out?
Yeah.
What's your productivity?" Right, like the BDC and all that. And it is true. It's a bit cliche, but people, they really don't care how much you know, and until they know how much you care. If I've gotten a lot more positive feedback from my team members, who have been with me for a good period of time. In that they show appreciation that I know the names of their kids, and the last conversation that they had with me, whenever we got together, that it had to do with like a tournament baseball, Little League baseball, where they had to travel to go do that and come back. And I remember, and how did Billy do during the tournament?
Yeah. And
they're like, oh, well, you remembered that. They don't expect that, is what I'm saying. So, that's how now that person, if I've established I care about them in that regard, and I'm more interested in what they can do for themselves than what they can do for me, to your point a little bit ago, that's going to engender a natural chemistry that is going to make them want to do better, to want to be more, to want to perform. Yeah. So you have to be intentional about that. And we could go on for this, and the proper terminology for that I have gotten from your teachings is the terminology emotional deposits and emotional withdrawals.
Right.
You have to make. And this goes for our relationships with our significant others too. Some of whom are here today, where that you can't always make a conversation about yourself. You have to be able to show the empathy and show you what's on your mind. What do you care about first, so that you get that you get that good energy back. So an emotional deposit. Then you've earned the right to be able to say something that's on your mind.
And I think what's happening is that you have to. You can't fake this kind of stuff. Some people say, well, can you go to this certain leadership class and all of a sudden you're this great leader? No, you have to be intentional, deliberate, consciously aware, and be focused in on other people. And I think when you serve other people, and that's why I know when I go in and I train salespeople, I was fortunate enough to do that last week, and I really say that what does the definition of sales mean? It means servants. If I can serve you best, then you're gonna respond back in a positive way. We always go back to the greater the servant, the greater the reward mindset. And are we giving world-class service? And if the answer is, I don't know, then you probably aren't, because it has to be deliberate. I said this last week, and I said this here. You have a culture. It's the one that you don't, if you didn't have it intentionally, you've got one anyway. Everyone's got a culture, right? And if that culture is one by design, or is it one by just, circumstances, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you're 100% on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Ryan, you're working with a lot of the CT6 agents who, that's not exactly an easy task whenever everybody is remote and they're all across the country, and that requires long hours and a lot of leadership skills in that regard. And I know that that through your experience, you've been in the car business a long time yourself. What, 20 plus years now?
Yeah, had my 40th birthday October. I started to hit the sales floor in the used car department in Columbus, Ohio at 19.
So, and you've ascended through the ranks in the dealership space and OEM experience as well. So, and you've touched on this in previous episodes, where that there is a certain skill and a certain tact and a certain approach that you have to have for people who are involved with your team and based on the specific type of productivity they're expected to achieve.
Yeah, and you said ascended, and there's been a lot of ascends and descends and ascends back up. You ever see the LinkedIn post? I think they're funny. They're like, Sussex doesn't look like this. It looks like this. And that's kind of the way it's been. But
It's like an echocardiogram.
that's what it is.
That's healthy.
Sometimes it's flatline. Trust me.
Everything's a pendulum.
That's right. Everything's a pendulum. It was described to me one. The car business is a merry-go-round, or a Ferris wheel, rather. Sometimes you're on top, sometimes you're on bottom. But as long as you're on the ride, you'll never stay in one spot forever.
I like that.
Right? So if you're down, don't worry, it'll come back up. If you're up, don't get too cocky.
There you go.
Because
Right.
it will come down. But yeah, to your point is, we ask a lot of our managers who manage people on our side just one question. If I could come by and wave a magic wand and fix one thing to make your day-to-day easier, what would it be? And just asking a question like that they show that appreciates that you do care about what they struggle with. I mean, they open with you. And then if it's something that you can, other than can I have 3 weeks vacation rather than 2, there's something that is reasonable, and you fix it for them. The miles that you get out of that just by stopping by, tapping them on the shoulder, and saying, "Hey, I get it. I know your job's tough. I've been there. But if I could do one thing for you today that would make your job easier, what would it be?" And I'm just telling you, it's a magic question. It's worked for me forever. They know you care. They know you're involved. They know that you're not just flying by and giving a pep rally, tap on the back, and then you go back to your throne or whatever in the seat. Because that's not me. I like to be in the mud. If we're digging trenches and we're drawing lines and there's a hill to take, I like to be there with them. And I think in a remote setting, and especially in BDC, that's important to show that you're leading from the front. You're not cracking the whip, from behind. And that's and then they self-motivate, really. I mean, they do want to do a good job. Inherently, no one signs up to say, I am ready to be mediocre today. I mean, that's not intrinsically a human nature. They don't want to be like that. Normally, they are pushed kind of into that position. So just a simple question, hey, how you doing today? Great, good to see you. But I can do one thing for you right now to help make your day easier. What would it be? And they'll tell you all about it.
Leadership goes both ways. I mean, you can give the best speech and the best rhetoric on the planet and do the rah-rah cheerleader thing, and you should. But what happens when things are rough? Do you console them? Do you ask, how can I help you? Do you get in the trenches and help fix their problem? What do people need help with? Sometimes the salesperson, they just need a second face. And maybe they've already turned it twice, so they'd be turning themselves out of a deal. Maybe the sales manager needs to go in. Maybe somebody needs to go in there and help them out. Good leadership is it's both. It's the good times, it's the bad times, and it's everything in between. Kind of like being a dad. You just spoke about home and this and that. But if you're leading a team, whether you're leading your family or whether you're leading your dealership, you're a dad. You got to make the hard decisions. You got to have integrity. You got to have character. You got to do what you say, and you got to say what you do. It's really simple. When I say I'm going to do something, if X, Y, and Z doesn't happen, or if X, Y, and Z does happen, you got to follow through. You got to be that guy.
Huge. That's
You
huge. Follow through.
Follow through.
Agree with you 100%.
You know, whether it's the carrot or the stick. You know, we a lot of times we'll say, hey, if you do a great job, this is what we're going to do for you. You better do it. Because that person who just did a great job is probably going to get a few job offers down the road. And if the person didn't do it, well, how do you help them do it?
Yeah.
And it's your job to be a mentor, to be a coach, and to be a dad. You know, and being a dad isn't always good times. Sometimes you get to take them to Disneyland. Sometimes you gotta be the disciplinarian when mom says, "Hey, dad's coming home." I'll get those kind of calls all the time from my controller or from somebody else. Hey, I need you to have this tough conversation with somebody or a vendor even, and you better have that tough conversation because it might be uncomfortable for you, but you better do it.
I'm a granddad, so I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I'm not the disciplinarian.
You don't have to be anymore.
You've done that already.
Yeah, well, he's
He's the guy who says, "Don't tell your dad." That's what he does now. But he's I don't know if anyone out there. I'm originally from Ohio, so I'm a Buckeyes fan. And in order to make the starting roster, you got to peel the black stripe off the helmet. You know, and that's a big part of what kind of leading is you got to be able to get them to a point where they feel like now they're part of the team, they're intrinsic, they're going to be in the starting lineup, and get them to that next stage, and you do that exactly the way that you had just described.
But that is not an ad hoc exercise. That, and if Ken would say that is a regimented, disciplined approach that it requires intentionality from the leader. It can't just be, oh yeah, I remember, that it is a learned skill. It is a practice skill if you do it and do it equally among all your people, so that way you get consistent results. To your point, I know, Brandon, we want to talk a little bit about service today. We talked about sales, how doubled the productivity there on site at the dealership. And we wanted to talk this time a little bit while you're still available to us about what's happened in service. Now, I more specifically, because the only way that you can make this happen, and Ken speaks to this often, is you win with people. And you wouldn't think that just making, to your point on the last episode, about one or two changes you can make would have such a dramatic effect. But just describe for us, if you could, right now. You were there at the store before you were actually picked to be a managing partner and be the GM, and I'm sure you interacted with the techs and the service departments and some of the people in parts and everything. What is the overall tone and energy level now in the shop and in the parts department versus before?
To say it's 100% different is an understatement.
And you did one thing.
Just did one thing. And that one thing had a chain reaction of events that happened that put us into a position where we not only had a new service director, but we had a new shop foreman. And then on top of that, we brought a new, that service director brought in a new menu system, started actually training the service advisors. The service advisors started to compete against each other for success, and it was just a whole chain reaction of events that happened off of that one change. And they've doubled productivity in that store, and they're still going up because we've doubled productivity. Now we're up for a warranty increase, and it's just been an absolute blessing to watch this.
And it was just with the one move, with the leadership position,
sir.
and you made a really good find and a good hire there. I'm on weekly, meetings as their mentor for your service manager and your parts manager, and so I mean we've already advanced in our conversations to many subjects that a lot of people aren't even thinking about now. So those guys and they take it all in and they absorb it all and they actually go out and produce and execute on the things that we're talking about, because otherwise, it's just talk.
They believe in the store's vision. It's not just my vision; it's the store's vision. At this point, the whole team is a collective, and we're all rowing in the same direction and having the same thought process about what we want to achieve. And it's just been a blessing. They gelled with the parts and service managers. They gelled. Everybody has created this huge cohesive team environment to where everybody's just pushing each other forward.
And I think that, when we talk like this, from an outsider listening to this right now, do you have like objectives and key results? We call them OKRs, right? Do you have them? Are they tied to some sort of a KPI, right? And there's a really interesting book, and if you haven't read it, I encourage you to read it. It's called Measure What Matters. And
John Doerr.
I love that book because it really helps a person understand like the objectives and key results that go into a successful business, And so I think, and then when you do have, to your point, Brandon, you found that find, in terms of that service manager, I always say, listen, you always be looking for your next best person that you can bring aboard, And I think that you hire slow, but you're always looking for that next player. It's like if you're playing, how deep is your bench? How many people do you have on the bench? Who are you mentoring, to your point, Jeff, right? Who's the next person as we grow? Because, we're growing, we're going to buy more and more stores too, right? And so as we grow and we find more stores, who's the next person to run and to do those things? So I don't know, I don't want to be too cliche about it, but I think it's intentionality. It's developing a culture that matters, and that's how you grow your business. And I think you've done an amazing job, Brandon, at exactly that, finding the right people, putting them on the right seat on the bus. To go back to another great book by Jim Collins, Good to Great, I think he's putting people on the right seat on the bus so they can do and excel and become the best versions of themselves.
I think you're right about that. There was an article somebody sent me the other day on Indeed by Mr. Keffer, one of he owns a group of dealerships.
I sent that to you.
Was it you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was particularly poignant at the time. And I thought it really spoke to what you're doing there. And that's why I sent it.
And it's having foresight, predicting the future. Planning is great, but predicting the future and kind of moving in that direction is even better. And that's what good leadership is. It's thinking not just next week, next month, but next year, but 3 to 5 years out. What's your planning like?
Right. Yeah. The essential point is based on your responsibilities and your position as it is higher altitude. Then that actually denotes how much farther out into the future your responsibilities actually are. So if you're in those positions and you're still working on the day-to-day, that's not a great recipe for success. That was the essence of it. And I thought, I don't know that anybody else in our organization embodies that, in practice more so than you. I thought you thought you'd get some good info out of that. And Ryan, you're setting up success plans already because you're putting on so many more clients now at Call Team 6 and a digital to dealer direct sister company from across the U.S. that that requires you to operate at a higher level and then also to think farther out ahead too.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's been following us on LinkedIn or anything like that knows that I've been posting about looking for talent over the next 30 to 60 days, specifically talent from end dealership. I'm looking for marketing directors, BDC managers, internet managers. It look to add on to not only into our call center environment, but also with the launch of the AI company, because we want our dealers talking to people who have lived it. And not to make another shameless AI plug or anything, but I mean, if you look at the stats that just came out the other day, 84% of dealers say that the AI they signed up for doesn't do anything for them.
Yeah.
Solves no problems, and that's not necessarily because the dealership didn't know what they were signing up for. It's that they were told what they were signing up for. They know what it was, but it's not doing it. So what we're trying to do here and talking about future talent acquisitions is we actually have a pipeline right now built up of 4 or 5 high-powered individuals who are waiting in the wings. We've already got pay discussed and all of that. They're just saying, hey, when you turn on the lights, right, I'll take the key to the door. I'm going to join you guys because we want our sales managers, internet directors, service managers, all that talking to someone who knows what the service drive looks like, what the appointment board in the morning looks like when you're walking in, who can be able to relate to that. And so to your point about future and acquisition, keeping the bench full, that's something that, and I actually learned being around the Keffer environment as well. I mean, that was a huge thing I pulled away from working, in that group's apparatus. is you can never have too much talent around you. I mean, you just can't. So always be looking, and never what is it? You'd never be so sure of what you have that you. What is the phrase?
Never be so sure of what you want that you wouldn't accept something better.
That's exactly
Chris
right.
Voss.
Chris Voss, yeah. Which, by the way, we should do an episode on the Black Swan Group. By the way, that's another story.
great. Yeah.
Some of our favorite training internally.
Brandon, you're in charge of contacting him and seeing if he'll come and join you and the rest of us on one of our upcoming episodes.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
It's the power of no. We'll get into that later. We train our agents on that. But yeah, keep the bench full and always just have a conversation. I mean, there are a lot of good, talented people out there who are ready to rock it.
Yeah, for sure.
We are really grateful that you came and visited us for a second visit here and an episode with us. It's just been tremendous to watch everything that you're doing, and as you know, partners with you in the venture out there, looking at our future together and what we're trying to build and how you're solidifying everything out there, just laying the groundwork for us to be able to look at other acquisitions and everything together. Nothing but great stuff with that, and we're very appreciative. So thank you for everything you're doing. And so folks, you want to learn anything out there, how this works in practice, feel free to reach out to us here. We'll put you in touch with Brandon. And that way, you can learn too from that as far as what's working in a short period of time at a dealership with a nameplate that is not typically associated with a lot of growth right now. So that's it for the mission wrap segment, and which means we have time briefly for a quick subscriber question out there. We're going to go back to Eric and Jay, who's got a question for us. We're ready and want to jump in and answer it. What do you got?
All right, so this question is for Ken from a subscriber named Roger at MattBlackCDJR, who asks, what is one thing I can do here with my BDC team daily to start our day right and ensure more productivity from everyone?
Well, all right, so it's a kind of a loaded question, and I would say it's a two-pronged approach. I would say if I'm in this seat every single day in your dealership, the first thing I would do is I would make sure that every customer that has a lead in the morning, send them a personalized video from the manager. Hey, this is Ken. I'm one of the owners here at XYZ dealership. Thank you for the opportunity. We look forward to serving you. One of my people will be giving you a call here momentarily. If you have any questions, I'm always here. I'm always available. Love to answer them for you, but one of my people will be calling you here momentarily. That would be like, wow. That's going to open up. They're going to receive that, and they're going to go, wow, that was really cool. Plus, when they show up, they're going to show you the video. I love your video, Ken. All right. Second thing I would do is I would make sure that that your people understand when they reach out to the customer, have a plan and work your plan. Make sure you don't just shoot from the hip. Salespeople have what I call lead bias in a lot of cases, and they'll read the lead and they'll talk themselves out of why they shouldn't call. They'll think of some reason. Oh, this guy he's asking about credit. I'm not going to waste my time. No. Call them with intensity. Call them with passion. Hey, listen, this is Ken. I'm giving you a call. Thank you for the opportunity. I love the vehicle you picked out. I can't wait to go over the details, answer your questions, get you some videos, whatever you need to make a good decision. We're here to serve. Remember, passion is everything. Leads, every single one of them, they all have intention to buy. They may not buy today, but they all have intentions to buy. So make sure every lead is handled with kid gloves and love so the customer feels it. So those are two things that I would do to kick some butt and turn that store around quickly and get your unfair share.
Hopefully that answers your question. And that's our KenX moment of today's episode. So that's going to appreciate that, Ken, sincerely. And
always passionate.
Always.
Well, it does make a difference because if everything sounds perfunctory with your interaction with customers, then you're not really cutting through. And the only thing I would add to that, one caveat would be, if you're answering that lead and you think, oftentimes, because this can happen because we're looking at it from the inside out, not from the customer's point of view, is that we think that that we're the only conversation that's going on with that lead. But they're doing that because they're sending the same information, the same request to other dealers in your market, especially if it's a new car. And that's the way that they're eliminating dealers. the internet and the web leads, the lead forms are now ways for what people used to do in the 90s, was they used the phone to eliminate dealers to save themselves time. Now they do it through the lead process. If you're not speed to lead, and if you're not enthusiastic about your approach, then you're just another dealer. And if somebody else beats you at that, then whether you're spending $18 a lead or whether you're spending $118 a lead, you just wasted that money. And that's something that you guys really do a good job.
And to go back to Chris Voss, not to drag us out anymore or reinvoke that, but during his training, he brings up a very good point in all things that are sales, which includes the car business, which is the top reason why a lead either doesn't talk to you or stops talking to you is because they figured out they can't get what they want from you.
Yeah.
It's the number one reason. The second is they've lost the ability to transact. But the number one reason is they figured out that you're not talking their same language, right? And so I can't get what I want from that person, but this person at dealership B or C, they are talking to me, and I'm getting what I need from them. So of course you would just cancel that out.
Yeah.
Until the train wreck happens or something over here.
Yeah.
They're not coming back. So you have to, talking about training and the BDC and all that, you have to let the customer know that they have a pathway to get what they want accomplished through you, and they will keep talking.
Yeah. I find that so many stores are so vanilla. I say that because, listen, hey, I love vanilla ice cream, but I sure like, some hot sauce on, some chocolate, some caramel, some pecans.
A Culver's turtle?
A Culver's turtle.
Did you say hot sauce?
Hot sauce, yeah. Not hot sauce that way, hot chocolate sauce. Oh, okay. All right, that's right. But here's the thing.
Temperature.
If everyone is vanilla, then how do you stand out? I mean, you may say
you have to.
You have to. So you always say, well, I'm a little intense. Yeah, I am a little intense. And that's who I am.
Only when he's awake.
And the only when awake. And when my wife says to me, I love that you're intense, but I hate that you're intense. But I mean,
what did the wigwam say to the teepee?
What did that?
You're too tense.
Oh, there you go. But I am intense about it. But here's the thing: people need a shock. People need to feel it. Like, what? They are the most important person, and that's how you do it.
I agree.
You have to go from head knowledge to heart knowledge if you want to make an impact in today's world.
Can you be empathetic, and can you help me solve my problem? Do I have a pathway to get what I need accomplished? You just do those two things. It's not rocket science.
It's not.
You do those couple things. And Brandon, you talked about that at your store. That's one of the big culture changes that you made with the management and sales staff at your places. We talked about on the last episode with your KBB buy or your buy center.
Yeah.
Which is taking Sierra and you said the quote, she's been a breath of fresh air because of the way she interacts with people, and it's not like a canned train. She's a human talking to a human.
Yeah, no, that's one thing you want to do. Customers aren't putting in leads just so they can talk to a typical car salesperson and get the typical runaround. Hey, when are you going to come to the dealership?
Yeah.
They're putting in these leads because they want customized service. The good credit rarely is just going to walk in the door anymore. The good credit, the ones that you really want to talk to, they're reaching out to you and they expect some service. You're going to have to reach out to them.
Yep.
And they don't want to talk to a typical car salesperson. They want somebody who's going to do a virtual appointment with them on web buy, or a virtual call on vid call, or they want somebody who's an untrained car salesperson who just actually has some people skills.
Thank you.
They want to talk to some people and get some help. And if you can help a customer, they're going to be your customer. It's going to be a sale. If you can't help them, then they're just going to go on to down the road and talk to the next person who can.
And the stats show that they don't want to keep bouncing around.
No.
It's like 1.5 visits or something like that now these days. They don't want to. They get pushed in that direction. They don't choose to jump. They get pushed that way. So
9.6 websites, 1.2 dealerships. That's the funnel. That's the breakdown.
Here's something I'm going to throw out there, and it's here's the thing. Okay, here's some statistics for you. 86% of customers who come into the dealership want to take delivery today. That's the real number, NADA. I'm not making it up. 86 out of 100 people. It's basically 9 out of 10, right? So what's our closing ratio? 3 out of 10. So what happened to the gap between the 3 out of 10 and the 9 out of 10? They met a salesperson they didn't like, listen, and trust. They felt something that made them back up. They didn't feel genuine. They didn't feel the connection that Brandon's talking about. It wasn't intentional. It was something that was just off. So here's a real number. 72% of customers that do buy something that's different than the one they came in to buy. Did you catch that? 72% of people left the dealership with a different vehicle. And we all know that, but how come? When the average time it took to make a decision, well, honey, should we buy a car? I don't know. Till the time they buy a car, 3.5 months. So we know it's 90 days of work that went into making this decision on a big purchase. And then, 7 out of 10 people changed their mind in the last moment? Why? Because they like the person they're dealing with. So I can't overemphasize the fact that it comes down to the people. And when we do that, that's how you sell more cars. That's it, in a nutshell. But it has to be intentional. It has to be consciously intentional every single time, 100% of the time. And that's the hard part. And that's where the why mindset comes in, the leadership piece comes in, and becoming, I don't want to get too deep, but it's a time management piece where you're working out of quadrant 2 more than you are out of quadrant 1, which is, not urgent, but super important. This is where you build your capacity to do better when you're living in a non-urgent but important management. Read the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Covey's amazing. And that's another one of those books that, again, how do you become great? Model. This is modeling 101, guys.
Cars are getting more and more expensive, and sticker shock is real. If your salesperson has developed a relationship of trust with the customer, then you have the opportunity to say, hey, you might not be able to afford this, which is fine. Let me show you something that is going to fit in your budget, and they'll listen to you. If your salesperson hasn't developed that relationship with that customer, then they're just going to leave, and you're going to lose that sale. But like you said, 86% of the people coming in the door want to leave with a vehicle. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean that they want to leave with the vehicle that they can't afford. Show them something that they want to afford.
Because their time's too valuable. People don't want to spend that much time at the dealership 100%. Anymore anyway. So that's why they do, like you said, 3.5 months worth of preparation for that transaction. All right. That is it. We got a jet. We've overstayed our welcome on this one, but I don't know that we've had a gathering where that we've been able to share such impactful content. That actually splits right down the middle, areas where that our viewers out there are experiencing difficulties with. So you've got great resources out there if you're listening and watching from any one of the wealth of knowledge and execution, actually doing it, right? We're not; these aren't gurus. These are guys actually doing that. And I've got to compliment Ryan's team in that a lot of the things Ken has just shared and Brandon has shared. They already know that, and they are actually executing that type of messaging and that methodology with potentially your leads. You're getting it at your dealership. So a big thank you to Brandon for coming again today and joining us on an encore appearance of our episode. And Ken, thanks for coming down.
Oh, my pleasure.
Always
I love it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ryan, thanks for that. Thanks to Jay and Eric back behind the cameras back there, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Remember, MacSocial.ai from our music producer and social media management company, MacSocial.ai.
If you're looking to stay out in front of the latest in AEO, GEO, social, all of that, MacSocial is your number one stop.
An entirely different episode we're going to have to jump into with that, because that's certainly coming. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. Ryan, where can people find us again for full episodes and other content that we're making?
Well, if you actually want to check out some MacSocial clips, go to all of our socials. YouTube is a big one. You can check out our whole episode, though, on YouTube. You see the video. And Spotify. If you want to listen to it, you're driving in your car, it's a great listen. It's a short listen. And it's a lot of information that you can come away with, again, and make changes today for a better tomorrow. Facebook, Instagram, follow us on the CT6 Express.
Woohoo! Yeah.
You can see it. Maybe we'll stop by your dealership.
Like, listen, and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, or feel free to leave comments. We'd love to hear feedback on how we can bring more impactful content, what you'd like to hear from future episodes. So on behalf of everybody here today, thank you again for tuning in. And that brings a wrap to episode 16, Papa from Call Team 6, Special Ops for Car Dealers. No lead left behind, ladies and gentlemen. Virtual remote BDC company serving dealerships all across the country, full service sales and service, and bringing all of our knowledge and sharing that with you all in the dealership community here on a regular basis. So thanks again for tuning in. Everybody, make sure you have a great close out there and happy hunting. We'll see you all again real soon.